Humans on the moon. What is the strangest thing you've found? Not aliens. It's not a base. It is something that should not exist in the first place. With the unveiling of our manned lunar lander, this discovery became crucial. Since more than 50 years ago, the Apollo astronauts set foot on the moon for the last time. More than half a century has passed. No human footprints have ever set foot on that land again. But later they did send dozens of detectors over. Some landed successfully, some fly around. There were also those who deliberately threw things at the moon. I'll try to see what kind of waves it can create. In general, moon. It is the celestial body that humans have played with and studied the most. But even after decades of research, the moon remains full of mysteries. Regardless of how it stores heat, it still follows the principle of conducting current. Even the characteristics of the soil, we still know too little. The universe seems to be like this. The more research you do, the more problems you discover. For example, there was anticipation before crossing the border. But after the Vietnamese reclaimed it, one discovery after another, those chemical traces that shouldn't be there. This has kept scientists scratching their heads for decades. You might think, scientific discoveries always change everything immediately. But true scientific progress is very slow. Sometimes even everyone noticed, but no one believed it. This story begins in 1976. At that time, the Soviet Union was sending troops to the moon. A satellite called the Moon was launched. Unmanned probe number 24. This was their last trip. The mission to dig soil on the moon. Nobody cared about this task at the time. It wasn't the first time. The scale is not large. But in reality, he secretly did something big. He drilled about 2 meters below the lunar surface. A small piece of the moon was taken and sent back to Earth. This piece weighs only 170 grams in total. It's about the same as a baseball, although not much. But right there in this narrow dust, some strange things appeared in the museum. A tear of water stains. The sample contains approximately 0.1% water. Moreover, the more in-depth your research on the sample, the more water you find. This should be a big deal, but quite the opposite. Scientists believe this water may have originated from Earth. The sample was contaminated, perhaps from the lander, perhaps devices from Earth. Because it is clearly written in the textbook. The moon is dry. There can't be any water. And this isn't the first time. Before, soil brought back by American Apollo astronauts. There are also similar hydrogen-containing signals. But it was also ignored as pollution. Then, these clues should have caused a huge uproar. Just like that, in the corner of the lab report, eaten dust for decades. Nobody mentioned it anymore. Until the turn of the century, it was only then that everyone realized what was going on. Have we missed something important? But we can go back and see for ourselves when we're ready. The moon is ready. They've given us even more problems. If you were thrown to either side of the moon's poles, some crater edges, you will see almost unnatural sights. It's not because there's anything wrong with that. There was nothing there. There was not even light. Only one piece of land from hundreds of millions of years ago. A permanent shadow that has never been moved. These areas are called permanent shadow zones. Why is this happening? Because the lunar station is particularly straight. The tilt angle is only about 1.5 degrees. This means, when sunlight shines on the poles, the light almost swept across the lunar surface. The impact crater is large and deep. Sunlight can't get in. So that place is in the entire history of the solar system. I've almost never seen a ray of sunshine. Not only is it cold, but it also lacks heat circulation. The coldest place can reach below minus 240 degrees Celsius. It's colder than Pluto, which is far away in the sky. Can be said to be the coldest place in the solar system. Scientists began to study this in the 1990s. If a comet or asteroid ever struck the moon, they brought the water over. Could some moisture drift into these pits? It was frozen, and then he never left. This idea immediately became popular, because he means the moon may not be a dead rock. He might be a resource library, a gas station of the future. Since then, all eyes, they all focused on the moon's auroras. Watching it from Earth wasn't enough. We have to go over and see what's going on. But the problem is, these most promising places, it's also the most difficult place to get to. Complex terrain and no light. The solar panels were just for show. But the temptation was too great. What if there really is ice? Thus began wave after wave of exploration missions. And so we set off. The sole objective is to find concrete evidence. And just then, things started to get strange again. Scientists suspect there is ice there. So what's the next step? Why don't you send a scout to check it out? However, a direct landing is too risky. So the first few missions involved circling around in the sky. The first, it is the Clementine launched by NASA in 1994. He wasn't going to find water. The main task was to draw the moon, map of most areas. And Antarctica was confirmed. There are indeed those large pits with permanent shadows. But he didn't bring the right equipment. Therefore, it is impossible to confirm whether there is actually a disease in the shadows. By 1998, NASA launched the lunar probe. This time we went in search of water. He scanned the moon using a special instrument. The result was in 2 episodes, especially those shaded areas. A large number of hydrogen signals were detected. This delighted the scientists. Theoretical estimation. The ice reserves there may be tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of tons. This is not a puddle of water. Rather, it was a discovery powerful enough to change the global landscape. But then another problem arises. The discovery of hydrogen is not the same as the discovery of water. He could also be part of the attack, or locked inside the minerals. The instrument could not distinguish the differences. All he could tell us was that there were hydrogen-containing substances there. However, it cannot be confirmed that this hydrogen was part of the sailor's supplies. So what exactly is it? Actually, even water orbiters couldn't see him. Therefore, it cannot be considered solid evidence at all. This has once again left the scientific community scratching their heads. There is data and clues. It just can't be finally confirmed. It's like the moon telling you it has a treasure, but he won't let you open it up to see. So the scientists thought, since it's not clear from the sky, let's just do it. Just hit him. You heard me right. It means crashing into the moon. The logic is very simple. If the ice is stored at the bottom of the pit, I can't see it from above. Then I'll grab something and smash it hard. Blow up the stuff at the bottom of the pit. Fly to a sunny place. Then I can see it clearly, right? This method is simple and straightforward, but it works. The first attempt came from the lunar probe. After completing its surveying task, in 1999, a crater near the lunar South Pole. But unfortunately, this attempt failed. No water was detected. The experimental results are still inconclusive. Some people say the impact angle was wrong. Some people said they had hit it clear. 10 years after the failed impact detection, by 2009, NASA's Lacrosse mission brought a turning point. This time he pulled off an amazing feat. Bring a trailblazer. That is, the rocket ship that carried him into space. He initially treated this large iron lump like a cannonball, crashed into a place near Antarctica, the crater of Cabeus. A few minutes later, the Lacrosse satellite itself also followed the same trajectory. Directly flew over the debris rain generated by the impact. Conduct on-site analysis. This time it was a success. The recording instrument detected water vapor in the rain stream. This is not an implication. Rather, it is real, measurable water. Not only water, and methane, ammonia, and other such things. This is the first time in human history I actually touched the water on the moon. This is making headlines all over the world. Scientists celebrate with champagne. It feels like this mystery has lasted for decades, finally solved. But soon new problems arose. The brave man crashed out. But how much water is there exactly? It's blocks of ice. Or is it ice sand mixed in the soil? The most crucial question is whether this thing is easy to dig up. Leo Cross gave us the answer, but he himself was also smashed to pieces in the impact, unable to provide more information. All we know is that there is water at least at that point, but the full picture of the moon remains a mystery. All along, everyone's thoughts were quite straightforward. If the moon has water, that must be hidden in the coldest places, in the darkest eternal shadow. The sun never shines in this place. It's like a giant natural freezer. Ice can stay inside for billions of years. This logic is sound. But the moon always manages to surprise you with something new. Probes in orbit. For example, NASA has been orbiting the moon since 2009. Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, and India's Chandrayaan-1. They started outside these large freezers. That is, the sunlit surface of the moon. Some weak water molecule signals were captured. This completely confused everyone. Find water where the sun shines. The daytime temperature there can soar to over 100 degrees Celsius. Shouldn't the water have evaporated completely by now? What's even more puzzling is what comes next. Scientists discovered these water signals are not always present. He even has a regular schedule. The sun is strongest at midday. When the Earth's surface is hottest, the signals from these waters become weaker. It even disappeared altogether. But as evening approaches, the ground cooled down. The signal is back. What is this called? Does the moon sweat? Sweating profusely during the day. It was taken back in the evening. This phenomenon is simply mind-blowing. It's important to know that the moon is a vacuum environment. No atmosphere. There was no air pressure, and no wind, rain, thunder, or lightning. On Earth, water evaporates and condenses to form clouds and rain. That's called water circulation. But the moon is bare. Where did he get the water cycle from? This is definitely the moon. A top-level puzzle thrown at us. So where does this water come from? Scientists scratched their heads and came up with several possibilities. One theory is that it was sent by extraterrestrial visitors. Countless like this every day. Dust like meteorites hit the moon. They might have brought some water with them. Or perhaps it would crash headfirst into the lunar soil. It knocked out the water that was locked inside. Another explanation is more interesting. They say it was blown out by the sun. The sun kept blowing outwards, a type of electrified green chestnut. This is what we commonly call solar wind. This wind blew to the moon. A green chestnut bumps into an itch in the moon's flesh. They'll synthesize water molecules right here for you, regardless of the source. This discovery completely changed the way the game was played. It means we may not necessarily have to go to those dark and cold places. It's in a huge polar pit that's extremely difficult to develop. Perhaps the entire surface of the moon. They were all thinly moistened with a layer of water. It all depends on whether we have the ability to collect them. This will broaden the scope of future lunar base site selection. It expanded countless times in an instant. This tempting possibility. This directly spurred the development of the next generation of exploration missions. So in 2023, Indian scientists, this also challenges the ultimate mystery. Lunar 3 lander. And his goal is Antarctica. This is also what scientists believe. That is the region with the highest concentration of frozen water on the moon. This marks the first time humanity has sent a probe to Antarctica. Everyone stared wide-eyed, waiting for the lunar rover Praegian to send back the search results. News of ice. The lunar rover started moving, both lasers and X-rays. The soil on the ground was analyzed thoroughly. The result was donkey iron hemorrhage. They have everything except Qing. No clear means no water. Everyone was stunned. Where's the water you were promised? It's clearly marked on the map. Did we make a mistake before? Or is the water hidden too deep? The lunar rover's small shovel couldn't reach it at all. Before everyone could figure it out, the 14-day-long moonlit night is coming. Temperatures plummeted to below -100 degrees Celsius. Chandrayaan 3 could not withstand the test. He has fallen into eternal sleep. What he left us, it's an even bigger mystery than before. However, Luna Transmission 3's trip wasn't in vain. Before his sacrifice, unintentionally using a temperature, the probe discovered a crucial clue. He measured the temperature of the lunar soil. The surface was found to be scorching hot, reaching over 60 degrees Celsius from the sun. But the probe only needs to be extended downwards by 8 centimeters. The temperature plummeted to -10 degrees Celsius. The temperature difference is too big. What does this mean? Explain the outermost layer of soil on the moon, like a thick layer of insulation. The heat from outside can't get in at all. This perfectly explains. Why did the lunar rover find nothing on the surface? Because sailors, it's very likely hidden in this down jacket, the area a few centimeters below, hiding safely. So it's very likely that there is water. The problem is that our previous shovels were all too short. Therefore, the question is no longer whether the moon is dry. Rather, our tools are not sharp enough, unable to conduct proper excavation. If this is true, so the next lander, there will be no need to fly farther or see more clearly. He just needs a more powerful drill bit. For decades, searching for the moon, water has always been considered a source of scientific curiosity. A better understanding of the moon's history, how geology and water move in the solar system. Movement. But this is no longer what people think of him. The main reason for interest. Now, moon water means something more direct. A springboard for humanity to take off, and the cornerstone of future space bases. Because if we can find usable water on the moon, sufficient extraction, purify and store it, and everything else will be unlocked. First, he made long-term lunar missions possible. Water is heavy. Launching water from Earth is very expensive. The water transported there was as valuable as gold. But if the astronauts can obtain water locally, this would reduce the amount of supplies they need to carry. This water is safe to drink, cooking, cleaning, or cooling equipment, without relying on Earth's continuous supply. Secondly, water can be decomposed into hydrogen and oxygen. This is many modern rockets, the same fuel combination used. If we can build a system to retrieve the sailors and convert it into propellant, then the moon becomes more than just a destination. It will become a gas station. A spacecraft is heading to deeper space. Mars, asteroids, or even further afield. Previously, there were places where you could refuel. This changed the entire way of calculation. Present, every task must be carried from the beginning, all fuels. But to establish a resource supply base on the moon can reduce the load. Launching from the moon is also easier. Its gravity is only 1/6 that of Earth. This means less energy, lower costs, and greater flexibility. Spacecraft launched from the moon. No need for huge rockets. He only needs one thrust. Third, the local water changed the way we build. It can support closed-loop life support systems. Recycling waste into usable resources can even help grow food. Some plants can. Growth in lunar soil under controlled conditions. But they still need water. If we find enough water, future habitat, it may not be entirely dependent on supplies, airdrop, or water compensation. This will undoubtedly have a significant impact on future human space exploration, possessing a pivotal position. Although it is still uncertain exactly how much water there is. How easy is it to be available or obtain? Because all these fuel bases, missions beyond the moon, only when we are able to first, only when that water is extracted can it be achieved. This brings us to the last question. Despite having so many tasks, data and optimism, the fact is, we still don't have a clear path. Just when we think we've figured out the moon, he will bring us something new, a contradictory reading experience, a missing signal, an unexpected result. Moreover, this pattern has recurred. We saw strong light signals from the tracks. However, there was no light in the soil upon landing. We are in the impact of the rain stream. Signs of water vapor were detected, but there was no frost, no ice cap, no visible accumulation. Even in craters where sunlight has never been seen, those cold enough to freeze ice. Billions of years ago, high-resolution camera, still no clear image captured, something that looks like ice. Instead, we received ambiguity. The shallow probe found nothing. The water detected by the instrument appeared to have disappeared during the day. The roaming vehicle passed by those that should have, craters filled with frozen material, but they only found more dust. Even new technologies like shadow cameras, although it is able to, conducted in the darkest place on the moon, imaging, the scientists have not yet revealed what, the kind of hope, clearly reflective ice cubes. This raises a disturbing question. The question of how we would store water on the moon. What should I do if I keep making mistakes? What if the model needs to be corrected? Or worse, if water does exist, but its distribution is so sparse, buried so deep, or perhaps it is chemically so tightly bound to the soil, so dense that we are not ready. What should it do? Of course, looking at it optimistically, perhaps it is our tools despite their precision. But it's not good enough. Our orbiter, like an eye suspended in mid-air, seen broadly but unable to touch. What about the lander and lunar rover? Like an outstretched fingertip. You can touch it but can't drill deep. All our probes were like scratching an itch through a boot. I always felt it was just a little bit off. The data retrieved from spectral genetics is also full of mysteries. He told us there was green here, but it didn't say that the green color came from the water, still the green in the stone. He told us that the area was very bright, but it didn't say that the light came from the frost. Or is it some kind of special mineral? But in the human dictionary, it seems like the word give up never even came to mind. On the contrary, the more shrouded in mystery, our curiosity was ignited. New tasks are being queued. A more powerful lander is under construction. Everyone's eyes remained fixed on that spot. That place we firmly believe holds a treasure. Next mission. Perhaps it will bring along more advanced products from Luoyang. He will bring a deeper drill bit, a smarter extraction system, no more probing. Instead, the goal is to break through that barrier once and for all. The final window paper. From beneath that insulated lunar soil, holding up a cold yet solid future. Certainly, the moon might play another joke on us. Let us discover more unsolved mysteries. And when our Luoyang shovel, finally I picked up that handful, the cold and solid future. A new era grander than the moon landing itself. It will soon begin. By then, the blue planet beneath our feet. The planet will no longer be the renowned cradle. Rather, it is our harbor leading to the stars and the sea.